This episode is made possible by our sponsor, Omega Bright Wellness. I've taken their omega-3 supplements for many years, and so has my wife, and that's why I invited them to sponsor my podcast. I'm proud to have them. You can find all of their products online at omegabrightwellness.com, and Bright is intentionally misspelled B-R-I-T-E, omegabrightwellness.com. This episode is also sponsored by Landmark College in beautiful Putney, Vermont. Learn more about the college of choice for students who learn differently at their virtual open house on March 19th. Register at landmark.edu/visit. Landmark.edu/visit. Or by clicking the link in the show notes. Hello and welcome to Distraction. I am your host, Dr. Ned Hallowell. So glad to be with you, and thank you again for joining us. We love this community. We are growing and aspiring to grow more. To that end, I have with us today one of my favorite people from one of my favorite businesses. It's one that some of you may have heard of, but most of you probably not. It's called Inventive Labs. And by the end of today's interview, you will remember it well because it's an extraordinary outfit. Located in a little town on the north shore of Massachusetts, Amesbury, Massachusetts, in the third floor of a warehouse. They occupy the entire floor. And they have young people, some older, but mostly young people who don't fit in the normal educational system, and but they are bright and curious and ambitious. And Inventive Labs invites these inventives, they don't call them students, but inventives, to come to the lab and figure out what kind of business or creative activity they want to commit themselves to for the year. And this man, Tom Bergeron, along with his partner, Rick Fiery, oversee the development of the lives of these young inventives. It's an incredible operation, and one that I have just tremendous admiration for. So with that as introduction, welcome Tom Bergeron. And no, he's not that Tom Bergeron. He's a much more interesting man. Not to say that term Bergeron isn't very interesting too. But this Tom Bergeron is with Inventive Labs. And welcome, Tom.
Thanks, Ned. Really appreciate you having me on the show.
Oh, it's great to be with you. So what's going on up there in Amesbury these days?
We have a good group we're working with right now. We run the lab. We have a couple of different sessions that we run, one which is our discovery session, which helps people kind of identify where their careers are. And right now we're in our launch session, which is kind of putting together a plan on how to get to that career. And that's made up of kind of multiple different pieces, a project to simulate the career, but also build your portfolio, some education plans, which could be traditional school, but also other type of certification programs, as well as a mentor program. Actually, Rick's working with the team right now, identifying their requirements, what they're looking for in mentors, which we'll match them up with in a couple of weeks. And then by the time they're done, they should have a full plan to have all the pieces in place, either as they leave or a plan to put those shortly thereafter, so they'll be able to go off and get their careers launched.
Now, I want you to run through those again, but first, before you do that, tell me, how did this Inventive Labs come into existence?
That's a great question. Rick and I had been business partners for a while. We had done quite a few different startup companies. I think we saw in our experience from doing startup companies is there's a lot of great, say alternative thinkers, alternative learners, folks out there with ADHD or dyslexia or on the spectrum that just really made great business folks, especially in the startup world. As Rick and I had done different startups and we're trying to figure out what the next stage was for us, we really thought it'd be a good chance to maybe give back to the next generation. Specifically on that, kind of looking at our own families, our own children, nieces and nephews, friends, kids, really seeing some that struggled in a traditional educational system, but were bright, smart, had a lot of different attributes to give, and really decided to put together a place that originally started as a business incubator, but really, as you said, turned into a career incubator, a place where folks can come in, kind of find the intersection of their aptitudes and their interest, and kind of build a plan for where they want to be in life, and really for kind of finding an enjoyable career for them. Quite often it's a non-traditional career, but it's a place that they can feel comfortable in, they can feel accepted, and really kind of launch their livelihood going forward.
Can you give me an example of one inventive who's come through your program?
Yeah, I would say that's probably one of the best ways to describe our program is talk about some of the folks that have come through. And I have a few different examples we can run through. One I can think of on the top of my head is Kat came to our program. She had thought about psychology. I think when she started school or college for psychology, I think she saw, as you know, Ned, kind of the long path, 8 years to get your PhD and kind of move forward. And I think for her, that was really a struggle to see, can I really make it through? Will I enjoy doing this for multiple years? So she decided to take a break from college. And she still wanted to help people. She was still interested in psychology and kind of working with folks, especially young folks. She did a lot of daycare and babysitting and helping folks out, but she kind of wanted more. We saw her very much as an artist, a creative person. She would do T-shirt quotes for folks. She was always drawing, had some great skills. And through our discussions and through her exploration, one day we did a field trip to Lesley College and kind of fell upon their art therapy program. So basically art therapy is the ability to take art and help folks kind of work through challenges and struggles that they have. And it was just a natural fit from her as soon as she saw it. She was able to take her art creativity, and she was concerned to get a 4-year art degree. She was concerned, am I employable after that? But when she saw the ability to take mostly art classes in college, she would love doing that. She could add in some psychology classes, and within 4 years, and then additional development after that, within 4 years, she could be out there working directly with kids. And as a matter of fact, she left on that, so I think it was 3 years ago. She's getting close to graduation, but she's already doing a lot of work with art therapy, working with young children now, and she's just really loving it, enjoying it, and really finds like she has a career that's going to work for her and ties in her skills and really mitigates some of the areas that she has struggled with in traditional education.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. And are you still in touch with her?
Yeah, we definitely keep in touch. We have an alumni network that we keep in touch with. The different teams and the different years that come through, we'll once or twice a year we'll get together and just reconnect. Where's everyone at? So her team just connected up last month. We had a good discussion, and we're starting now to put together alumni teams as well by interest. So there's other folks who've gone off on the artistic ways. There's some who've gone off on the technology in different areas, and we're able to connect them now by interest alumni as well as by the team that they went through.
Can you give an example of one of the ones who went off into technology?
Yeah. Actually, Craig is a great one. Craig actually was a little bit older. He actually had already received his degree, so he got a degree in computer programming. The challenge for him was a very active individual, and sitting at a desk programming for 40 to 50 hours a week just didn't cut it for him. So he quickly realized after college that his degree wasn't quite working. He actually left, and he was working construction as a laborer. So carrying heavy things around, moving them around. And although it wasn't using his intellect and his intelligence, it had that activity aspect and kind of movement. So he came to us. He was looking at some different potential options to go forward with. And he was kind of interested in electronics and looking at, do I go for more schooling, et cetera. And we connected him up with a local company here, Blackbird Energy, that takes tractor trailer trucks and converts braking energy into electricity. Very similar to electric cars, but they were looking at it a different way. The cabins that the truckers drive in, when they sleep overnight, there's about 1 billion gallons of diesel burnt every year for cooking and heat. And they wanted to capture that energy and use it for heating and cooking for the cabs. So Craig went there early on, just from online work he was doing. He realized how to balance the load of the batteries and do that. So he was using his technical skills, but he was with big tractor trailers and batteries and connecting things up and moving around. It was really a great match for both his technical skill and his activity. And he started interning, really working with no salary, just kind of interning. It turned into part-time, turned into full-time, and now Craig's a part owner of that company. And it's kind of great to see kind of his success going forward, taking his skills and really finding the career that matched well for him.
And that's a wonderful story. And what do you think? What was it that you did for him that he couldn't have gotten in college?
I think the point that he was at, I think really kind of struggling. I think you've talked about this in your podcast, Ned, is just, losing confidence, negative self-talk that kicks in. Did I waste my degree? Was it really worth it? What kind of job can I have? So I think for him, he was really kind of lost at that spot. And I think we were able to really help him realize where his strengths, where his skills were, just some of the work he was doing in here, kind of doing study and research, and then the connection with other folks. I think we really, in his case, one of the biggest things was just helping him identify that, he has a lot of skills. He definitely has challenges, ADHD, organization, some of the other components, but I think putting him in an environment where those issues didn't necessarily affect him, and an accepting team and a small company because of what he could bring to the table. I think we just helped find a spot for him that worked and really helped build up his confidence.
So he could be in an environment where his weaknesses weren't rubbed in his face every day.
Yeah, which I think is one of the biggest challenges that a lot of us face. Just getting yourself into an environment that appreciates you, that wants you to be there. I think as human beings, we all want to be accepted. We all want to belong to a group, and helping find an environment that's going to embrace you is just powerful.
Yeah. If somebody listening now knows someone who they think might be interested, or if they're interested themselves, what is the age range that you accept?
So 18 older is typically who we work with. So sometimes that's right out of high school. Sometimes that's a year or two of college. But anyone 18 and older, we talk to families where folks are younger. Some of the folks we've talked to 3-4 years ago, talking about what their child could do in high school and now coming into our program. It's great to see that. But as far as actually starting with us, we usually wait to individuals are 18. We don't require a high school diploma or anything. Could be GEDs or just an area that we feel they do well with, and we can work with them to kind of help them find their career.
They come into the lab, they're there all day?
Yeah, we're a 5-day-a-week program. So we start with a group of about 10. I think we have a lot of late risers, as you'll probably appreciate. So we typically start as a team, 10, 10, 15. Every day looks a little bit different. Some days, a lot of group activities, and we'll work together. Usually 3 to 4 o'clock is kind of our group time. Sometimes we have days which we call GSD, get stuff done, where they're working their own or small teams. And we also spend a lot of one-on-one time with them on those days. So, Rick, myself, we have 3 other guides that will kind of work with them one-on-one on their projects and their careers, and kind of, step them through, either helping break down the larger projects into smaller tasks, or sometimes just brainstorming with them on directions to go.
Where do they live?
So some folks commute are nearby, but most of the folks we have, although we're in Massachusetts, majority of the folks who've come through the program come from other parts of the U.S. And even international. We've had folks from France, Canada, Saudi Arabia, the Philippines. And we have a nice apartment complex. It's not associated with the lab, but we have a great working relationship with them. They're about a 10-minute walk from where we are. And
that's great.
And typically they team up in a 2-bedroom apartment, each have their own bedroom with a shared kitchen, bath, living area. Actually, usually have each own bath, but shared kitchen and living area.
And how long does a typical inventive stay at the lab?
So it's interesting. You talked to us kind of being a school alternative. We have learned that colleges and schools do a lot of things well. And one thing they do, the way they use semesters and breaks and components like that work real well. So we've adapted the typical college semesters. We call them sessions. So we start in September and run through December. That's typically our discovery stage. And then in the what would be the spring semester, spring session, starting in late January, running through May, is typically when we have our launch stage. So, 4-month sessions, you're not required to do both. Some people know what they want to do. They'll come right to our launch stage. And some people, after discovery, we discuss it, and we're maybe not the best location for us to do the launch stage. Actually, one of the Madeline, who just came through our program, cosmetology is what she wanted to go do, and there was a program starting as we wrapped up, and it made a lot more sense for her to go into that program as opposed to going through our launch stage.
And the launch stage is when you start your business.
Yeah, if they're starting a business, that's where you wrap up your business plan and go through and kind of get financing and get ready to go. If you're more career focused, that's where you touch up your resume. If you're going back to college, it's where you get all your college applications and components in. And then also, for us, we feel it's your long-term plan. It's more than just knowledge. It's networking is a big piece of it. So who you know and how you're connected to folks. The extroverts, and a lot of ADHDers are extroverts. They kind of love that aspect of going out, meeting new people, kind of socializing and building up your business network. But even for the folks who are quiet or the more introverted, we work with networking for them, which is building a smaller group. Maybe it's a cup of coffee with a few folks and building a smaller, tighter knit network for yourself that can help you on the business side and career side.
What, if any, qualifications does someone have to be accepted at Inventive?
They have to be, Ned, we say, looking for really good people, people who are caring, care about others. We are an accepted environment. We don't have any specific requirements, except we often do look to find people who have done well in a specific area. Sometimes that's school. Sometimes it's one subject in school, really good at math. Quite often it's outside of school. It could be extracurricular activity, whether it be sports-based, whether it be doing well in the chess clubs. One of the guys in the program right now, Patrick, who was on one of the top 2 teams out of 3,000 robotics teams when he was in high school. So he got to it in life that was, he exceeded really well at that area. And that's just someone we know we can work with. Someone that you don't need to reach that level, but that's a good example of someone we know we can work with.
Now, how much does it cost?
So program session, the sessions are $15,900 per session. We do have some limited partial scholarships that are available as well. So we've definitely worked with folks. I think that for me and for Rick, that's one of our most exciting things. When we started, there were no scholarships available with the money coming in. I think we've built up a nice alumni network. Our alumni contribute to a scholarship fund as well as some other folks. So the ability to now kind of work and help to provide scholarships is really powerful and just exciting for us to be able to expand the group of folks that we can work with from that perspective.
But so for 2 sessions, that would be September to June?
Yeah, September through May, yeah.
Through September through May. That would cost like $32,000?
Yeah, $32,000.
Okay.
Which is probably in line with the public university, probably in line with that, a little less than a private university.
Well, having put 3 kids through college, the last tuition payment I did was my son at Trinity, which was $60,000. So $32,000 sounds really good. But and is 2 sessions usually enough, or do they sometimes stay for 3 and 4?
Very seldomly do they go over 2 sessions. We find kind of what we work with them, 2 sessions, and we kind of build up what the next stage would be in many cases. There has been a few cases where we've worked with folks on a 3rd session, but that's usually part-time, and it's usually very specific to accomplish a very specific goal on that end.
And at any given time, obviously, it varies a lot, but how many inventives do you usually have?
So we like to build teams of 10 to 12 folks. We love that size. There's a lot of studies done about that. It's a good sized group. It's big enough that it's tough for someone to dominate or kind of work with the group. It gives a lot of different voices, but it's small enough that you can really connect. And I think part of what we do is really give folks, that network they can work with. The team right now, they're working on a concept that's called personas. Personas, you build up an imaginary person that would be your target customer or potentially a target boss, a different component. So you give them a name and you kind of work through, your attributes and what motivators and drivers are. And, they work together on that. You have your own for your business or your career that you're going after, but they all work together and help each other out build those. So I think that team aspect and that team working together is really an important aspect for the folks who come here.
I want to talk to you for a moment about Landmark College. Landmark College in beautiful, beautiful Putney, Vermont. If you have never been to Putney, Vermont, go there. And when you're there, if you have any interest in students who learn differently, go take a look at Landmark College. They are the masters of helping kids young adults, with ADHD and other learning differences. People like me, I have ADHD and I have dyslexia, and I'm, different. But Landmark looks at someone like me and says, different in a good way, and let us help you learn how to present your good side and compensate for your not so good side by working with our amazing teachers here at this beautiful campus in beautiful Putney, Vermont. Landmark College really is the best of its kind, and if you are a student or you have someone in your life who wants to get on with education, Landmark College is the place to go if you happen to have ADHD or dyslexia or other learning difference. Landmark is having a virtual open house on March 19th. March 19th. Circle the date. There's a panel for parents only to get an idea of what students will experience if they go there. And they're having a student panel, too, where current students talk about what it's like to live and learn at Landmark. That's a great way to really get a feel for a place. To register for the virtual open house, virtual meaning you don't have to go to Putney, Vermont. It's too bad, though. It's a beautiful town. To register for the virtual open house on March 19th, go to landmark.edu/visit or click the link in our show notes. Okay, let's get back to today's topic. It's just wonderful the way you guys do this. It's I hope people listening will tell others about it because it's unique in my experience. And Tom and Rick just take such a personal interest in each one of these inventives, as they're called, and I've been up there quite a few times, and it's just fascinating. They just take over this entire floor of a warehouse, and like I said, it's like a magical kingdom. It's this hotbed of creativity and ingenuity and friendliness and banter and the unexpected. And Tom and Rick just kind of oversee it wonderfully. So you're in full throttle right now, is that correct?
Yeah, we're completely in full throttle, and I think one thing that we're trying to do. I think we love folks who come to the lab. We love working with them. We love when you come in. You bring a lot of energy to the place and really help out. But I think one of the things that we're really hoping, and part of being on your podcast, is to get the word out and also help businesses, help schools kind of look a little bit as far as what they're doing and what can they do differently.
Right.
Schools, we see a lot of accommodations, and for us, accommodations aren't acceptance. You can accommodate someone with really accepting the difference. Quite often accommodations, you get a label and you kind of get moved to the side outside the group. And we're just kind of working a lot of strategies of how do you take that accommodation and make it available to the entire group or make it just part of what you do in your day-to-day. And then also really looking at where folks shine. So a lot of times in school or in the workplace, your challenges are the things that you seem to constantly be dealing with. And we want to change that around to the areas you shine, that you do well. How can we really set it up that you spend more time doing that? And really, enjoy what you're doing, be engaged in what you're doing, be engaged with the team.
Right.
Folks with ADHD are just wonderful people, a lot of energy, a lot to contribute, typically very caring. And those are the type of people we want to work with. And we're hoping that, other workplaces really want to kind of adopt and work with folks like that as well.
Absolutely. Now, if people want to learn more, where do they go?
So probably the best place would be our website, inventivelabs.org.
And then if they wanted to talk to you, can they just email you, or how would they set that up?
Oh, definitely. On our website, they can get the link right there, info@inventivelabs.org. That way, both Rick and I look at it. That'd be the fastest way for one of us to respond. So just info@inventivelabs.org.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. It's an incredible place. And if you know somebody who's kind of has a lot of talent but doesn't have necessarily the structure or direction, you really ought to check out Inventive Labs. Inventivelabs.org. Tom Bergeron with me today and his partner, Rick Fiery. The two of them are amazing. They're like fairy godmothers, only they're not mothers, they're fathers. And they really cast a spell on these young inventives and get them started. Before we stop, is there anything you'd like to add, Tom?
No, just again, thank you, Ned, for you've been involved in our program. You've come and you visited, met with our folks. I think adding a lot of encouragement. We really appreciate that. We love what you do for the ADHD community in general. I think your voice of positivity and letting folks see that there's a lot of areas they can shine, and also helping folks as far as areas that that strategies, techniques they can use to sometimes with that negative self-talk or some of the other challenges that they have, some strategies to break through that. So appreciate you having us on the podcast. Appreciate all you've brought to the community. And as I said previously, I think part of our mission is to help other organizations adopt some of the practices. So any business professionals out there, any educational institutions, we'd be glad to talk to you, discuss some of the things we do and how we think might be able to be adopted into your programs.
Sure, and any companies that want to hire some of these inventives, they're wonderful. So just go to inventivelabs.org.
And there's a lot more companies that are really starting to hire. They call it neurodiverse hiring, but there's a lot more companies doing alternative interviews and looking at different ways to bring folks in. So really, what we consider the game changers out there, the ones that can really kind of look at the organization differently and help making some game changes, ideas, and thoughts to improve their organizations.
Thank you so much, Tom Bergeron from Inventive Labs, inventivelabs.org. Go to the website, meet Tom, meet Rick, go visit, meet some inventives, get excited about young, talented people finding a place where they can really discover their talents and develop them and launch their careers. Thanks so much, Tom.
Thanks, Ned. Great being on the podcast.
Okay, well, that's our show for today. I love Tom Bergeron and his partner, Rick Fiery. They really are shepherding some very talented people who might not otherwise find a place to get started. To learn more about how Inventive Labs can help you find a career or someone you care about where you'll shine, go to inventivelabs.org, inventivellabs.org. They are currently recruiting a team for this fall. They use the word team. Others might say class. Others might say cohort. Whatever, they're recruiting people. And as the only requirement is that you're 18 years old, both sexes, any field of interest, it doesn't matter. Just have an interest. Please remember to reach out to us with your questions and comments, which we love, by emailing connect@distractionpodcast.com. That's connect@distractionpodcast.com. And give us a like and follow on social media. I'm on TikTok myself with the username @Dr. Hallowell, DrHallowell, no period in there. Or you can search the hashtag NedTalks. Not TED Talks, but Ned Talks. Please get a copy of my new book that I wrote with John Rady entitled ADHD 2.0 by clicking the link in the show notes or by going to my website, drhallowell.com. That's DR with no period, DrHallowell.com. Distraction is created by Sounds Great Media. Our recording engineer and editor is the estimable Scott Persson. And our producer is the brilliant Sarah Guertin. I'm Dr. Ned Hallowell. As always, thank you so much for listening. The episode you just heard was made possible by my good friends at Omega Bright Wellness. I take their supplements every day, and that's why I invited them to sponsor my podcast. Shop online at Omega Bright, and that's BRITE wellness.com.